All right, all right. Welcome everyone to Thursday morning production training. We got a great call, I think, lined up today. Topic is going to be reaching out to your upline in your appointments, right? What does that do for y'all, right? A great example is several agents this week. I think we're well over $10,000 in production helping agents, right? Because they are reaching out and following the system. So I love, right? How do you write 10K in a week and don't know how to do it? Is simply following the system and reaching up to your upline. So we're going to give you some really good tips of what to say, right? How do you do it? What are best practices to help y'all with that? And then the other one is going to be planting a seed, right? Of making it their idea, right? Realize when nobody likes to be told what to do, right? Especially that the terminology, right? People don't want to be right. People don't want to be sold; they want to buy, right? And that terminology comes from that, right? People don't want product shoved down their throat, right? They want to make a decision and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It's amazing, right? They'll usually get more coverage or the same one and be super excited about it just because it was their idea versus your idea. So we're going to give you some verbiage and teaching and a book recommendation that'll help you with that to get better in your appointments. Before we get started, what I humbly ask is this is a big learning team together. I myself, the way we create a ton of these topics of what we train on is what our agents are struggling on or what we're struggling on this week. So it's literally live, right? Training that's helping us produce. What we humbly ask is y'all take notes and write down some of the stuff that would help you, right? We're focusing on making sure we're equipping y'all with actual tools that you can take into your appointment. The hard part is you're not normally doing it. So the hard part is actually doing it into your appointment, right? So focus on making sure you take at least 3 nuggets and you start putting it into your appointments today, because that's how it's going to help you write more business. And then what we humbly ask that if something, right, one of the nuggets, a sentence, whatever you used and you feel it helped you close or help that family, right, or put a policy in place, that you post it on band. This is super, super important, right? If it helped you, it's going to help another agent, and it's just the best way, right? We can help the whole organization together as a team, and y'all do a really good job of it. So I just humbly ask y'all continue to do that because everyone just gets a ton of it, great information out of it. So we will get started. First, we're going to start with reaching out to your upline in your appointments. There's several agents on this call that are just really, really good at it. It's something, in case you don't know, now you know, right? But it is something you should be doing every single appointment. So especially, right, I'll give y'all my story. I came in here my first 8 months. I deposited $110,000 into my bank account my first 8 months. I started in April of 2018, right? And from April to December, $110,000 were deposited into my bank account. I didn't know anything about insurance, right? But I just followed the system. Every single appointment I prepped with Mark or Steve Devine, and every single appointment in person, because back then we were in person, I called Mark or Steve inside the appointment to make sure I had the best program, right? That the client felt satisfied, and that I made sure I was going to put a policy in place, right? What that allowed me to do is anytime I felt that my client was going to go the other way and give me a think about it or anything like that, I beat them to the punch. I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure, right, I have the right program in place for y'all. Let me just get my manager on the line really quick, and I just want to make sure, right, we have the best program in place for you. I'd call them, put them on, right, introduce them to the family, put them on speakerphone, and they would help me close the deal, right? They would help me make sure, right, we explained everything correctly. Let me tell you, a lot of times when a new agent is running the appointment, y'all are like, that's going to be so weird, right? Or they're not going to like that I called somebody. They love it. Think about it. Do you want one person helping you, or do you want a team helping you? Right? On the client side, they were like, wow, right? Like there's several agents helping me to make sure we got the right protection in place. So I can't edify that enough. And now in the virtual world, it's so much more easier, right? Because imagine how embarrassed we felt as a new agent, right? In front of them in person. Now y'all are on Zoom, right? Now either it's a phone appointment, whatever it may be, you can either three-way call or you can put them on hold. They can't see you, right? And you can literally have a whole conversation with your upline and they can't hear you or see you. And you are like in the comfort, you are in a very comfortable space. Imagine when we used to have to do this, we were literally sitting right in front of them. There was no pause. There was no, hey, give me a quick little second, right? And no matter what, anything out of the conversation, they were able to hear because I was sitting right in front of them. So take advantage of the fact that they are virtual appointments, right? You can mute yourself. They can't hear you. You're able to exchange information, right? So like if you randomly called me and I was your mentor, you'd be able to, hey, Joe, this is the situation, right? I think they're going negative and I don't think this is right. You get to have that conversation and they don't hear it, right? We didn't even have the comfort of that back then because we were sitting in front of them. So please, please, please take advantage of it. So on that note, we're going to start with.
Hey, Joe, real quick.
Go for it.
I just want to say, yesterday, well, actually, I think both of Paul's, when he was inside of Zoom, he sent me a request. He went into the appointment on his own, and I would just get a text and say, hey, I got a question, I need you. And it was really cool. I just popped in on his Zoom and was able to help and then popped out. And then if he needed me again, I just popped in. And was able to meet the clients, answer the questions, and just popped out. I just think everyone should be sending the invitation, and if it's needed, you could just pop in.
Yeah, and so here are the notes on that, right? So first of all, please write this down, okay? If you are running appointments or you have scheduled appointments today, guess who needs to know about them? Anyone can unmute.
Your upline.
Your upline, right? Like the worst part of not being able to help y'all sometimes is either we didn't know, and that's when we get those triple dials. I wish we had that initiative from the very beginning, right? I'll have an agent be like, hey, can you hop on? I'm like, I'm running an appointment right now, right? So it makes it a little bit more difficult for me to assist, right? So a great practice, right, is your mentor should know how many appointments you have today, how many appointments and what time, okay? And you should have case worked with your mentor. Like at no point should you have just made the decision of this is what I'm going to cover, right? Like let's consult, right? Like me and James are in the office, we consult all the time, right? I got a 65-year-old, a 60, this is the health care, should I do this policy? Should I do this one, right? Like my base is really good at doing that, right? We'll call each other or we'll text, hey, I have a 55-year-old smoker, this and this, right? What do you think? This is what I plan on showing. Is there anything different? But we get very specific. You got to get specific, right? Like when we're doing that kind of mentorship, it's showing, right? Like they're sending me the 3 plans they're going to show, right? 100,000, 150, 200,000. It's for 46. It's a 20-year plan, right? I even ask, right? Like if I mentor someone directly, I'm like, show me a picture of what your slide looks like of what you're going to show the client. Because sometimes y'all just have too much words in it, right? Y'all have 20-year, 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 20-year in there, right? You have life insurance policy. You have the words Term Life Express. You have Dignity Solutions. They don't know none of that. It needs to be super simple. Mortgage protection plan, right? It doesn't even have to show the years of the term. You can explain it to them, right? The more you put on that on whatever you're going to show, the more you're going to confuse them. They're going to ask, why does this one say 20-year? Why does this one say 20-year? Why does this one say 20-year? What is Term Life Express? What is Living Promise? Right? What is that? Like you're giving them things to think about, and then don't wonder why they tell you at the end, hey, I need to think about it, right? Realize, right, it's still marketing, it's still sales, right? There's a reason why, right? When you go see a sale, they keep it super simple, $19.99. Right? Like they don't explain per unit, per this. You find that out when you try to go get right the whole box and like, no, it's each, right? Or whatever it may be, right? Realize it's a marketing, right? And then it's easy on the eyes too, because because a lot of times, right, if their mortgage is 245,386, we don't show a policy for 345,386, right? We show a policy for 345,000, right? Zeros are pretty. It makes it easier on the eyes when they're looking at options, right? Or 350K, right? Because we don't have to add all those extra 3 zeros, right? Because we know what we're talking about, and it's easier on the eyes. So highly recommend your mentor should know how many appointments you have today, what time they are, and what options are you showing, right? And this is my rule of thumb, because everyone's like, I've been here for 2 years, a year, 3 years, 6 months, 2 weeks, right? Like, when do I know I've arrived and I don't have to do that? If you're not issuing $15,000 a month on your own, you should probably be mentored, right? Like, you have to continue to better your production. If you are not a top producer, an elite producer, you probably need work on your production, right? I still work on my production, and I've done this for 6 years. Again, right? Like, I'll put it. We have a group chat with all the agency owners, right? And I'm like, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking, right? I'm a little iffy on this one, and they're like, yeah, I just helped the family doing it this way, or whatever it may be, right? Continue to work on your production. If you are not depositing 10 grand or more into your bank account, is all I'll say on personal production. So making sure we're prepared, because this is, I want to get, I love to explain why we ask for what we ask for, right? And James, you can kind of hit on this, right? Like, because you've had agents, right, as you're growing an agency, right, call you randomly that they're running an appointment. So if you prepare us for your appointments, we can prepare for your appointments. Because sometimes if James has a 3 o'clock and I have a 3 o'clock, and Brooke, right, is saying, hey, I'm going to run an appointment at 3 o'clock, I need to make sure somebody is readily available to help her, right? So we might reach out to Nate and say, hey, Nate, we both got a 3 o'clock, right? Brooke is going to be in an appointment. Can you please make sure, right, if she reaches out, you help her in that appointment? So like your upline team, that's the way we work if and only if we know you have an appointment, right? Because if I'm mentoring you and Nate's like, hey, I'm going to run an appointment right now at 4 o'clock. Well, I'm like, hey, Nate, I got 2 interviews and an appointment at 4 o'clock as well. I may not be able to answer. I also communicate with James. Hey, James, if Nate reaches out, he is in an appointment, right? And then get with your upline, because we got all kinds of little tricks to make sure we're right. Nothing is more important if you are sitting with a client, right? So like if you're in the Miller organization, right, their little code is double dial. If you double dial, right, Jeff, he knows he needs to stop everything that he's doing or get someone to pick up the phone for y'all, right? Because you are in an appointment. Nothing is more important than our production, right? So, but we only know that if you communicate that with us. Don't be a secret agent. Let us know how we can help you, right? That I don't know, James, anything on that part? I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
You said it just best part, just if you have appointments, you mean just let your upline know what time, go over the numbers. Randy does a good job letting me know when his appointments are as well. I've had other agents tell me, we get in the end of the day, work them out, or the beginning. That way, I could get my production done as well, or interviews. And, I know what time they're setting, so I put them in my calendar or try to block off that time if possible. So I know if I have to jump in, if that agent needs a little bit more help, I'll block off that time for them as well. So stuff like that too.
Right. Also a great thought process of this, right? Like as y'all join our organizations, right? Just understand how insurance work and why we're growing an organization, right? I don't make a dime until you make a dollar. If you are my direct agency, right, you should be running an appointment like me. Like I want you to write an app. It behooves us, right? Like that's how strong the support is. So please communicate with us. And as a builder, so if you have a downline, this is a great way to think of this too, right? Like your new agents are booking, setting appointments, right? That they should be able to help a family. You should be part of those presentations, right? Like you should have your hands in them. So make sure, right, if you're a mentor, a mentee, like it's a win-win for absolutely everybody, right? Like we want to make sure you are writing business, and as a mentee, right, like you have a team of folks that want to help you. So make sure you're communicating with your upline, and right, we will make sure we have that support for you. Let's see, you know, we talked about about a spotter a couple of production calls ago, right? And the reference is like when you go to the gym, right? You don't just grow by lifting weight that you can lift, right? You actually have to push yourself to lift weight that your body is not used to lifting, right? Now, you don't do that safely by yourself. You do it with a spotter, right? Your upline, your mentor is your spotter. And here's the thing, a ton of y'all are running appointments and you're not calling your spotter. Y'all are right. You end up sitting with the family, you run the appointment, and then you get off the appointment without protecting the family. And then you're like, hey, Joe, I didn't write that app, right? I think I could have done better. Okay, that doesn't help you grow your production, right? In the exercise world, you call your spotter, right? Why are you attempting to lift something you can't lift when you have support to help you get there, right? There's a completely different process to making sure you're calling your spotter, right, in your appointment so that we can help you lift that policy. Because here's the biggest thing, right? We are not just insurance agents that are writing policies. We are putting protection in place that literally can change somebody's life. Okay. If you don't feel 100% and you're not issuing a 15, why did I say 15,000, right? And depositing 10 grand, because that means you're more than likely in line with the numbers that you are helping the right amount of families. If you're not doing that, that should be a sign that you're doing an injustice to the family, right? Like our job is to try to protect that family based on their age, health, right, and budget. If you're sitting with families and you're not putting protection in place, you're doing an injustice to them, right? Like we want to make sure we can help the family that we sit with. You should, right? You should be running an appointment as good as Nathan, right? As good as James, as good as me, Jordan, right? Whoever's team you're on, Jeffrey Miller, right? You should be running appointments that good. Why? Because you have their support, right? But you're the one that makes a conscious decision of not calling us in the appointment, prepping for it, and letting us help you, right? Trust me, I want to help you write a policy. Your upline wants to help you write a policy. That's how they get paid, by building a team, by you helping a family, right? So it just realize the spotter reference, right, is so good. And I want y'all to think about that every time, right? You are not helping a family. Was your spotter there? Did you have somebody to support you, right, in your time of needing to, right, to lift a little extra weight because maybe you didn't know how to help that family in that situation, right? So making sure you're looking at it as a team, right? Great reference is the spotter, right? You got people ready to help you in your production. I want to make sure I equip y'all with some really good tools of how to do this, right? So write these next couple of things down because I'm going to ask a couple of agents that are really good at it, right? What are they telling families? Different things you can say, right? Because realize you can say anything. I'm going to call my manager. I'm going to call, right, the carrier. I'm going to do this or that, right? Or hold on, I'm going to talk to my buddy, right, that's an expert in this, and I want to make sure I'm showing you there's a whole bunch of things, right, you can come up with that work great. And Nate, if you can unmute, buddy, you probably practice this the best in our base shop, or I will say you practice this the best in our base shop, right? Like when me and James look at our phone and we see Nate Brunstein on the caller ID, we know you are in an appointment and we know you need some help, right? Or you're asking us a question. So
at 8:30 p.m.
yeah. Any tips you can give an agent, right, of what to say? What are you telling the client? Where do you find most times you're needing to call us?
Yep. And that changes, right? Kind of the biggest thing to realize is that you can call them for anything, right? It could be tech support. Hey, I can't figure this app out. How do I do this? It could be, you know what, Joe, I don't think that they're going to go for this. They don't seem like they're really super interested in it. Can you jump in on it? Or it could be, right, it could be any number of things. So realize it doesn't just have to be one thing, right? Anything can upset that app. So make sure you've got that support in place, and you know you can call your mentor is huge. And for the client, realize too, you control the experience. They don't have a clue how to run a mortgage protection appointment. You could run the whole thing backwards and still be able to help people probably. I wouldn't recommend that, but to realize it. And so I know if I'm calling Joe because I need help writing the app, I'll probably tell the client, hey, I just need to check a couple things with the carrier. I'm going to put you on hold for 2 seconds. Do you mind? They go, no, great, no problem. I call Joe, and they don't have to have it be a part of that conversation, so I'll mute them out. If it's something where it's I'm not sure that I'm helping in the best way that I can, it's going to be more of a, hey, I just want to make sure I get my manager on the line here, make sure we're helping you folks out in the best way possible. Do you mind if I port him in? No, and they love it. They love it. They eat it up, right? And Joe will come in and you've got more experience. Or James, right? If Joe's not available, James will port in. Thank you, buddy. We wrote 5K. I had one appointment last night, exact same situation, trying to figure out Navigator, couldn't quite get it figured out. And both of you guys, I talked to both of you in that same 5-minute window, and we put 5,000 APV down and helped the family. So it's huge. You have that ability, use it.
Right. Any other, and just so, just to give agents right ideas, like where do you find yourself calling us, right? Or asking for a little bit of help?
Yep, it has changed. In the beginning, it was more, hey, help me make sure that I'm not losing the sale because I haven't run a super tight appointment or I need help with the client. Now I've gotten more comfortable with that. I've gotten more experience. I've been to a lot of different training calls. So this is exactly what you need to apply to get better. But now it's more tech support stuff, right? Hey, this app isn't working, or they just got declined for this. That's a great one to do too.
Oh,
Use that.
you know what, that's a good one, right? That you're really, really good. If they get declined, you should not hang up the phone or end the appointment. You should be writing the next application, right? Now, sometimes you don't know how to pivot or what application or why they got declined, right? Please, that is one of the best times you should be calling your mentor, right, or your upline and be like, hey, you know what? This is where we're at. They got declined because of this. What's my next option? Right? Like Nathan, if he gets a yes, he is writing an app. Decline or not decline, he's also going to continue to write an app until they get approved, right? Or goes into underwriting. Like, but you make a promise to a client of, hey, I'm going to put protection in place, you should keep it. Right? One, also the fire, right? You got a yes. You build great emotion, right? Like they're ready to move forward. Do not let that time space out. Right now is when you need to strike, right, and be that tiger and get that approval or get them to submit that application, right? You should not ever get off the appointment because of a decline. You should reach up to your upline, right, and see what's next to pivot, right? That's a really good one. And Nate, if you can go back to kind of like you said, it has changed, right, as you've gotten better of running an appointment. But I want to, for new agents especially, right, you said, right, at first it was, I'm kind of losing them, right? Give me a couple of scenarios that you can think of, right? I know they'll be in the realm of you already start feeling it's not getting right, like they're not going to say yes, right?
Absolutely.
They're right, or things to look for, right? Of, hey, I'm probably going to have to reach up to my upline.
Yeah, the two biggest ones are probably them asking a lot of questions and feeling like they're confused. That's a big one, especially me. I love to over-explain. Joe, you and I have worked on that a couple of different times. But that's one, because if they're asking a lot of questions, it's not an emotional response for them. It's a logical one. So you're probably missing something there, and calling your mentor, they're going to be able to help cut through and find that why. Come in with a fresh set of questions, come in with a fresh set of eyes. So that's a big one. The other one is when you feel them kind of pulling back, right? And you think they're not super engaged, they're giving you surface level answers. One of the spouses is off cooking in the kitchen, and you just get that feeling that they're not really that engaged or with what you have going on. So those are two instances I've called many times. Joe, can you help me out here? Can you jump in and just come in with a fresh set of eyes?
Love that. I appreciate that.
So Nathan, it sounds like when you put your call into Joe, you don't automatically merge him in on the call. You'll take, what, a minute or two to just kind of bring him up to date with what you're facing. And then Joe will say something like, merge me in. get me in on the call or something. So that discussion will happen first. You don't just jump him in on the call and then he's flat-footed kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And that's, it helps him out, right?
Okay, thanks.
It's good. Michael, you got your hand up?
Yes, this is awesome. So Nathan, you're in the appointment with me and I sound like I'm not really engaged. What do you say to me that gets me to say, yeah, go ahead and put me on hold, and then you call Joe?
Run that by me one more time, Mike.
Yeah. So you're in the appointment with me and you're getting the sense that I'm not very engaged. And now you want to call your upline, James or Joe.
Mhm.
What do you say to me, the client, while you're there that gets me to say, okay, yeah, go ahead, call your manager or whatever?
I could tell you anything. That's the beauty of it. Anything at all. What I use is typically, hey, I just want to make sure I'm helping you guys out in the best way possible. Do you mind? I'm going to see if I can get my manager. He's got a little bit more experience than I do. Do you mind if I try and get him on the phone?
Okay,
And
that's what I was looking for.
And a
I-
couple keys there, right, is he's edifying whoever he's about to bring on, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, this, I'm gonna bring my manager on. He's been doing this for about, 6 years, 10 years, whatever, right? So realize also edify the person you're about to bring on, right? So that when you're bringing him in, it's like you're bringing in an expert, right? The word manager, they love it, right? Realize us as people, right? Like we'll complain when we're in a restaurant, we don't like this or that, right? Now, hey, I'm gonna get my manager, right? Or I want to talk to your manager because someone's complaining. It could be an 18-year-old kid that's the manager, right? And then all of a sudden you're satisfied because the manager heard you, right? Like nothing, no information extra was given, nothing has changed in the scenario, but the manager heard your situation. That has now pleased their heart. Right. So realize the power in labeling somebody that you're about to bring on, and then edifying them has a lot to do with it. Right. Because it's going to make them feel like, right. Again, people are working on their case. Paul, I got you see your hand up, buddy, and you've practiced this as well, really well. What you got, buddy?
So I got a quick question. He did mention the pivot to another product or something if you do get the decline.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have an idea as to what to say, but what do you normally tell them, Nathan, about like switching to something different if you don't get that automatic approval the first time?
Good question, bud. And often as you get a little bit more experience, you're able to identify, hey, there actually might be a chance this guy will get declined. So a big part of that is prepping them beforehand and saying, hey guys, you know what? I'm just trying to do the best I can for you. If you're okay with it, I'm gonna try and get you the most amount of coverage we can for the best price. There's a chance they might not give it to us. So, but I want to make sure we at least try. Are you guys okay with that? You go, yeah, of course, no problem. And then, guys, they came back to it. It looks like they're actually not going to offer that to us. No worries. We've got plan B here lined up. Give me a second to log into my second carrier. I'm going to get you a couple of prices here. It will be a little bit more, but they are a little bit more accepting to different health conditions. So I think we can get you covered.
Good. Solid. Let's see who else is on here. Paul, I mean, anyone else has, right, a scenario that you feel maybe you would be uncomfortable with, right? Getting somebody else on the phone or on Zoom, anything we can help you with. I see Chris here, right? Like, what does the pivot sound like? Right. I think Nathan kind of answered that during the decline situation. One is really, really big, right? Prepping them. You should almost know, right? Like there's a risk of a decline because there's health conditions involved, right? If not, if it is a surprise, right? Sometimes we talk to the healthy client, nothing ever wrong with me. I take no medication and we can't get them cleared for anything, right? That decline situation, right? One is first, don't tell the client, right, that maybe they've been declined before you've talked to your mentor is really good. Remember, they only know what you're giving them, right? So we got to be a little bit smarter in our appointments sometimes, right? So like if you see they got declined, but maybe you're writing multiple applications, let's say a great scenario is I'm doing a husband and wife and I'm starting to write. I wrote the husband first, he got declined. I am not instantly going to say, hey, we got declined here. I'm going to get my other app, right? Because they need to feel helped. Right. So, but in between that time is a great time to start texting your mentor. Hey, just wrote this person, they got declined, right? If you did a really good job, we already know what appointment you're in. We already know who got declined, right? And more than likely, we almost anticipated the decline, right?
And Joe, let me jump in there quick. Even more than that, if there's either a couple that I'm writing an app on each, or if there's one that's going to be guaranteed issue, like an accidental, and I think there might be a risk of us getting declined for the other one, I'm going to write the app that I know they're going to get approved for first. I've got them on the line. I've got their info. You know, there's so much more of a hook involved there. It'd be so much harder for them to say, nope, cancel everything, I'm out of here, than if I had gone and gotten them declined on the first one.
Solid, right? And then that way, again, right, you don't have to communicate right away that they got declined. We're going to help you, right? Your mentor is going to help you. What's the next policy? We can even help you work up quotes, right? Because we know information from your client, or you can do that, right? But there's just a ton of stuff you can do to make sure when you are ready to make that pivot, Chris, right? Like I wrote the husband, he got declined. I finished the wife, she got approved. I get to throw in, hey, congratulations, Mary, you got approved. John, on your side, it looks like they didn't like something. But while I was filling out Mary's, right, I was able to communicate with the carrier, right, or my manager, and they told me that the next one is this one that should be approved, right? I already have it pulled. You're gonna already have the application pulled up. You could probably have half of the information already entered in the application and be like, hey, so the next pivot is gonna be to this policy for blank, and it's this amount, right? It's only $15 more. Y'all still good with that? Yep. Boom. You should have that signature in your email now, Mary. Right? Like you can pivot so well. James has become a master in that, right? Like James, before he even tells them they're declined, he's already got the next policy pulled up, all their information. He's ready to hit send, right, on the signature needed for the next pivot application, right, to see if we can get them approved. Couple hands up. I think Sam, you were first. Or somebody unmuted. Sam, go.
Okay. I was just going to say, Joe, what I found so helpful is since you've laid out for us, you know, again, this is all based on health, you guys, but, you know, go with Americo first, then do Moo, then do Man. It's like I already have a plan in place if I get a decline. And if I'm setting it up the way Nathan said, which is what I normally do too, to let them know there's always a plan B, there's always a backup option. I have found that so helpful. So like my couple, I think it was my couple over the weekend, I was going to put them both in Americo. As far as I knew, they were both extremely healthy. Did the husband first, he got approved, went to go do the wife. And like early on in the application, it's coming up saying, we're not going to be able to cover her. So all I said was, I just said, you know what, Griselle? You know what? It looks like mutual, you know, I think I have a better pairing for you. Just went into the other one. It was a little bit less money. All I said was, I just said, oh, you know what? They're going to approve you for $49 instead of like the 54. I didn't go into like different carriers. I just kind of made it like towards the end. Oh, it looks like they're going to approve you for less. This is going to be the rate, and it was less. So what is she going to say? She obviously was happy. And it was fine. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess kind of like what David said, less is more. Like the less you say to them when you're pivoting, the better, as long as, you know, you're walking them through the process and not making them feel like they're kidnapped.
Love it. Michael, you were next.
Yeah. So first of all, great stuff. Thank you so much. I do have a question, Nathan, how you would handle this pivot. So I was talking to a couple 70 and 71 years old, $336,000 mortgage, have a son who's on the home but doesn't live there, 47 years old. We're talking about the need, and I said to them, well, who are you thinking of, you know, bringing up the need again? Who are you thinking of protecting? And they said, well, we have a little bit of insurance, but, you know, probably just fall to my son to take care of if we pass, you know. And that's where I was feeling like they weren't really engaged. And then, you know, and then they said, well, we're Christians, we'll just believe God's going to work it all out for us, you know. And I said, because I wanted to bring in somebody that knew more, but I said, hey, I'm a Christian too, and I think I think it's wise to plan for the worst and expect the best, you know. And so I just would wonder how you might handle a pivot like that, Nathan or James or Joe or Rodney or Paul or someone to get, so I could bring in somebody that knows more than me to kind of save a situation like that. And I know we're not going to get everybody,
Right.
but, you know,
Yeah, and I've had that exact same thing too. You get to the end of the appointment, hey, you know what? I think that we're going to be fine. You know, I trust in God, and everything's going to be good for us, and He'll take care of us. They might not have a big enough why to move forward with coverage in the first place. Just realize that. As far as a pivot, as far as bringing on a mentor, it could be the same thing. Hey guys, I just want to make sure we're getting the exact best thing we can for you. Let me get my manager on the line here. Do you mind if I put you on hold for 2 seconds?
Every time, if you have a doubt, every time you should get your manager on there, right? Or your upline or your mentor or whatever you want to call us, right? Like every single time is the answer, Michael. There should, right? Don't leave it a chance, right? We're going to do everything we can. We might just hop on for 1 minute, be like, hey, blah, 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 right? This is what Michael's showing. I think it's a great program, right? Is there something we can help you or answer, right? To help you make a decision? Nope, dude, we're just going to, great, thank you, right? Like, don't also expect, right, a close every single time we hop on, but it's just the process, right? Like if y'all put these processes in place, and I want to really emphasize what Sam said, right? Like the carriers in place, because some of y'all put down, I think, right? Like, how do I know who to pivot with? Or how do I, or Holly, you put how do you pivot so fast to the next carrier, right? Again, we're prepping with y'all, right? And we're usually telling you, hey, well, go ahead and try, right, America or Term Life Express or whatever we're suggesting. And we've already probably told you, hey, if they got declined, right, your next one is this one, right? And if you keep the policies that we train y'all to do in order, like they're in order to allow you to pivot with an approval before a think about it, right? Before a defer to underwriting or whatever it may be. So it's super important too to follow that case. Rodney, I think you had yours up next.
Yeah, appreciate it. Nathan, and by the way, thank you. And I plan on using this. I'm gonna be sending Joe, James the invite. So prepare to clone yourselves and see how much that costs. Because I'm gonna need you. You think, Nathan, right? This is to you. You're running a really good appointment, right? And this may just come with experience for you, Nathan, as to when, okay, cool, I'm going to bring someone on. But when you get to the think about it, too late, or are you still wanting to bring someone on?
Never too late, buddy. You can never too late.
All right. That's
Or
where
early
I was
better.
at, is like, sometimes you feel like you're doing everything right, and then you're feeling like you're getting it, but I'm thinking another person coming on, the manager, just making sure they got all the options and the best options for them, might help. So I like that.
I think it would probably be best to if you're getting that feeling, to do that before you show them options.
No, I'm
But
saying when you don't feel like you're getting that feeling, and then all
oh,
of a
then they
sudden it's
just
like,
hit you
where'd
with
this
it.
think about it come to play? But I'm sure obviously it was a door that we didn't shut.
Never too late.
Or I didn't shut in the presentation.
Call James.
Never too late.
Call
I do
Sam.
it. I do it all the time.
Literally. Holly.
Yeah, my question about so fast was actually not about how fast do you pivot, but how fast do you write the new app? I feel like I'm spending like so much time like in the physical act of typing in the responses and reading it all to them and so forth, that like the idea that I could be filling out one app while I'm still on the phone with them, like I think that my brain doesn't multitask like that. That's what I'm asking.
You'll get good at it, right? Something James has on his list to talk about too today. A lot of times we don't prepare to write multiple applications because we feel it takes us so long as a new agent, and you literally just said that, right? Like it's going to take practice, right? Like you will get fat, right? When I first started, it would take me hours to write an application, right? Because I was reading, like I was going super slow and being, right, trying to make sure I had everything correct. And you just with more and more applications, you're right, you are going to get faster. I don't know how you're taking your information, but I write, again, everything down, and I keep it all in my files here for all my cases. So when I need a pivot, right, and so does James, we already have everything. So I'm just, right, I'm usually, right, buffering and building rapport, right? And already starting, right? All the basic information, their name, this or that.
So by the first app, you have all their information. You know what I mean, you know who the beneficiary for each other is. You have their date of birth. You have their banking information, everything. So you can literally rewrite that app and know everything. And then make sure you if you have to pivot, if you're nervous. I had agents as well. Call your upline. I've had to help agents write policies as well, or while she's policing, she's writing the policies. I jump in, build rapport, ease them down. If we have to pivot, hey, you know what? Let's go to this one. I've done the pivot for them too, if they feel uncomfortable as well. I mean, I've done the whole thing. We're here to help. I mean, if you don't reach out, just know it's a no. So it's a no regardless if you don't reach up to them or not. So might as well just give you the extra 50-50 shot.
And you'll get fast as you book more appointments, right? Like if y'all are part-time and you've only had 4 appointments in a day, right? You've never had the 8 appointments in a day and back-to-back appointments. Trust me, by necessity, you will become faster. So it's just experience, Holly. You'll just get faster.
And you could always just practice with the carrier, know what they ask, the questions, what you need from each one. That way, you're comfortable with each carrier. You know what I mean? So that's the best thing, because practice on yourself, knowing what they expect. That way it's not a surprise to you or the client.
Yep. Brooke, next. We'll go quickly. I don't want to run out of time.
Had an appointment this morning and I did not talk to you about it, and I feel like I should have. And my hands are sweating right now because I'm about to be very vulnerable in front of all of you.
I appreciate
I'm
you so
literally
much.
shaking and sweating over here. Like, I'm not joking, I'm sweating. So in my appointment this morning, it went really well. She was 47 years old. I showed her full mortgage payoff where it was a 15-year term. And then in it, she was like, that price is great. She was like, but could you do a 10-year term? And maybe like we can talk about that. And if you can't do a 10-year term, I'll go with the 15. And instead of consulting with you right then and there, we got off the phone so I could rewrite the quotes for the 10. And then I got on this call, so I hadn't called you yet. And me and her texting right now. I still got her. She still wants to know if I found it. I was writing it with Americo and did the term 100, and she liked the price. It was like $39 or something like that, $36.90. It was something like that. And I didn't lose her, which is good. But now I'm wondering, should I show her SBLI? Because I looked up SBLI and it's doable. It was like $16, but she doesn't know that. I'm in control here. So do I still just get her approved with America first, since that's number 1 on our list, and tell her, I'll do.
It's a better policy. It's got living benefits and everything, right? And again, right, let's talk after the call and we can get more information. But absolutely, I would. Americo's a Cadillac, right? Like Americo has living benefits, right? SBLI is cheaper because it's just a plain policy. So
yeah, because where I think I did okay is I didn't tell her I could. I'm like, I'll do my best to find it. Like I'm going to be working today on your account. So I never told her she could. I never told her I did. But yeah, I feel like I could have done better on verbiage and maybe calling you. Like that would have been a great time to get you on the phone, and I could do better. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Again, what I tell an agent after we've gotten through the first process is you should never feel like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm showing, and I don't know how to run this appointment. If you feel any of those emotions, that is your fault, right? This is a mentor teaching a mentee. There's too many things in place. There's too many mentors. There's too many uplines for you to feel that, right? And then here's the worst part. Your clients can hear that, right? They can hear the not confident, right? That is your fault, right? You should be reaching out to somebody. You should feel 100% confident. You're showing them the best options. You're going to make sure you're putting the best thing in place and you're doing justice to them, right? All those are emotions you control. And if you feel that way, it's because you're not right. You're not following the system. So Jordan, my friend.
Just last 2 things, I won't take long, that I learned in Dallas that I love to hear. Guys, if you're new and you're like, dude, I feel like I'm just as scared of introducing my manager as I am of running the appointment, you can actually frame the beginning of the appointment with being honest about being new, but just tell them you have a whole support team behind you. Like, just say that at the very beginning, like, hey, I'm very new. good news for you guys, I have a whole support team behind me. So if I find myself at a position where I don't know what to do, just know I will probably refer to them. Is that okay? Start your day off that way. Start your appointment off that way if you feel like, I don't want them to think I'm bringing a manager in to close them or whatever, right? Like, I know that's the other half of a manager. Managers, when you need help, is always a good thing, but managers in a sales environment can be a bad thing. So just know that that's one way to go about it. The other thing I had for you guys was another thing I learned in Dallas from Michael Matthews, man. He said, I loved this so much. He said, if you get to think about it in the appointment at the very end, as a new agent, especially if you can tell that it's, there's 3 reasons why you get to think about it. They don't like you, price is too high, or they don't understand what's going on, right? There's confusion, it's too expensive what you showed them, or at least there's no value there of what you're paying for, or they don't like you, right? That's a good time when someone says, well, I really need to just take some time to think about it. You can say, hey, I totally understand. Let me get a field underwriter on the line just in case I'm not showing you the best thing for you. So that whenever you guys are taking time to think about it, you're thinking about the best thing for you guys. And go ahead and bring your upline in at that point. Because I mean, it'll remove the think about it. What's there to think about when you're already showing them the best thing that's possible for them? It's just then at that point, you're edifying what's the best thing possible for them and then getting the premium as low as possible for their budget.
I like it. I like it.
Real quick,
Anyone
when I get to think about it at the end, and they're like, we just need some time to think about it. Hey, yeah, you know what? Let me mute you out. Let me mute myself out. Let me go grab some water. I'll give you some time to think about it. That way, if you have any questions, I can answer them.
So good. So good. Right. Anything else on reaching out to your upline and the appointment? I'm going to give y'all, before we move on to the next topic, just planting the seed, and I'm going to give y'all some nuggets for verbiage.
Last thing, guys, instead of decline, I like also saying this looks like a plan that's not so suitable for you. Like, always make the program itself the problem, not their health not lining up with the program. Right. So when we say, hey, it just doesn't look like the most suitable plan for you, let's go find plan B that is.
I love it. All right. I'm going to give you all the book. Never Split the Difference. If you have not read Never Split the Difference, you need to go read it. Okay. It's an FBI negotiator, best negotiator in the world. Right. So what are we doing every single day? When we're running appointments, we're negotiating, right? We're trying to make sure we help them, right, find the coverage, right? And we're trying to get them out of their own way. The best things to learn, right, is one, again, I said it earlier, it's got to be their idea, okay? No, you are a salesman if you are using this verbiage. This is the program I put together for you. I think this is a great plan for you. These are the things I think are going to help your family. I, right? And none of my appointments do I ever tell them, I put this together. I tell them, right? Most families do these programs. This is how most families, right, get coverage. Families in your situation, I help them a lot, and they do this, right? It's never my idea. It's always, right, that you put them into a herd mentality, right? So everybody wants to do what everybody else is doing, right? They don't want to do what you're telling them to do because they know that means you have a benefit out of it. They want to do what normal families in their situation do. I can't emphasize enough how much that verbiage, when I made that change, helped me help way more families, right? And then the other thing is so read the book, because you're going to learn about mirroring and planting seeds. Okay, mirroring is simply repeating what they're saying, right? Why is that so important? It makes them feel like y'all are both on the same subject, right? Like y'all are both on the same page, right? So here's a cool little trick too, right? Even though you planted the seed, so you suggested the idea, like most families, right, are going to do equity protection in your situation, right? Even though I said that, right? And then I get to ask and make them repeat what I just said, right? So which one do you think you want to do? They're going to say what most people do. They're going to want to do that. So they're going to say, well, probably what most folks do, which is the equity protection, right? Y'all with me? And then here's where you get them, right? Where you get them out of their own way, right? I now emphasize and celebrate and promote that they had a great idea. You know what, John? I think that's a great, you are right. I edify them. You are right. I think that's the best program for you. I'm going to go do what you think is best for you. Right? It's no longer my idea. And guess what? When they hold on to it, because it now became, they will never let it go. They're like, no, Joe, we, it was my idea to get protection in place, right, Betty? Yep, okay. They will never, you are going to have to write them an application because it became their idea and your job is to service their idea, right? You'll get a ton of nuggets in Never Split the Difference. I highly, highly recommend you read it. But it's planting a seed, right? What planting the seed means, you're dropping little nuggets, right? That's going to make them think the way you want them to think, right? Here's the thing. They reached out to us and filled out a form because they want the protection, right? But everyone's scared of salesmen, saleswomen, of the sales process, right? You got to help them get all that stuff out of the way. How you do it is you plant a seed, right? Hey, great job. Edifying is the best way, right? Thanks for hopping on. You've already taken the best step, right? Most families don't even do this, right? Or most families do this, right? Then they get the protection, right? Just little things like that you're dropping seeds to develop, right? Like I'm going to need them to go to equity protection, right? So most families do this, right? Most families in your situation cover the whole thing, right? You're sitting with a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old. Hey, most, right, families that I sit with that are your age get the return of premium. I'm going to be able to show you that, right? Like you're dropping little things and hints, because then when they get to say, you get to ask a great question. What would you like this to do for you? Guess what's in their head? The little seeds that you have planted along the way, right? Equity protection, CB, right? Return of premium. And then it's their idea. And you're like, hey, you know what? I think that's a great idea, Paul. I'm going to go ahead and get that done for you, right? So that is all I got. Unless y'all got a question before we hop off. All righty.
No, thank you so much.
Yep.
That was good.
Awesome. Well, I will post this on Band. Y'all will have it. And thank y'all for participating. Thank you for all the plugs in. And anything we can do to help y'all, again, we are here. Everyone has a support program here, right? Make sure you get with your mentor, right? Your agency owners, right? Jordan, Val, Jeffrey Miller, myself, James, right? Make sure you reach all the way up. Don't ever feel like you don't have a support program, because you do. There's way too many things in place already. So thank y'all for hopping on.